Hey guys, it's Carter, and today we're going to be looking at the SPY. I'm also going to show you Bitcoin. So I'm going to do a little bit of short-term analysis on both, what I'm expecting for the September-October period here, and the remainder of the fall. And then I'm also going to talk about targets for potentially the winter period as well. So join me in this video, it should be quite interesting. All right, so here on the SPY, this is my S&P 500 tracking ETF I use to trade at 647 right now. And provided we can stay above this blue dotted line right here on the screen, 636 is the number it's at. Provided we can stay above 636, upward pressure can remain. However, in the next couple of weeks, I'm anticipating a break below 636, and this could start a bigger correction in my opinion. I have to admit though, last time I made a video on this chart, I called for a breakdown closer right here, and we didn't ever see that. So we never saw a breakdown to confirm a correction that would start earlier. So we've continued to grind higher. So I have been mostly on the sidelines here for this grind to the upside, but I'm okay with that because I think what's likely going to happen here is a pretty precipitous fall in the coming weeks because September and October is a seasonably terrible time for the S&P, and I don't think the S&P is going to have enough steam, enough momentum to carry it above this diagonal formation we have forming here. If it does happen, it would be another warning sign. A break above a diagonal, a throwover in this case, would be adding to an overheated market. I don't think it's very probable right now, but we need a crack of this support level at 636 to confirm that a drop is really likely beginning, okay? And then look for this support region to be tested. In my eyes, this is a likely low for a potential correction in September, October, and provided we can stay above 567, I believe we're going to be shooting for higher prices heading towards the end of 2025 and possibly Q1 2026. So let's look at the weekly chart for those numbers. All right, so here's the weekly chart of the SPY, and like I said, I'm anticipating some weakness in the weeks to come, but provided we can stay above this long-term trend line, and I'll have to even zoom out for us to see the whole thing, provided we can stay above this long-term trend line, likely at 570 in the weeks to come, then we can continue to look for upside towards these targets up here, and I believe we could be hitting these targets between 683 and 712 some point in early 2026 or even late 2025 if we rally to the upside quickly. But yeah, these are the targets I'd be looking for towards the upside, and I would expect potential major trouble in this price range. But we're not going to call a top before we need to. We're going to watch how price action acts at these levels. If we can head up towards these levels, which I think is likely, provided we hang on to 570 to the downside. And make no mistake, I don't even believe we have to go towards 570 to the downside in this correction. We may not even break 600 to the downside. However, don't twist my words, because I do think we are going to break below 636 and possibly head below 600, but it's not something that has to happen. But if we do break below 600, the 580, 570 range is going to be likely very strong support. So watch those numbers like a hawk. I'm not a financial advisor, but those are going to be definitely accumulation levels for me if we get there. Okay, let's turn our attention to Bitcoin now. So Bitcoin here, we're at 110,400. Now I have to say, I'm expecting more downside. Just like the stock market, I'm expecting downside on Bitcoin in September and October. So here's what I'm looking at here on Bitcoin, because I am still anticipating higher prices if we can hold this level down here in the low 90,000s. So hold the low 90,000s, higher prices are going to be expected, in my opinion, on Bitcoin heading into the end of 2025 and possibly the beginning of 2026. Now, I am looking for us to take out this low we've recently made here about a week ago at 107,000. Why? Because if you go on the shorter time frames, this bounce right here looks really overlappish, really choppy, no way indicative that a substantial low has formed. So it looks corrective to the upside here. Now I am, well, originally was tracking this as a potential A, B, C, and that would be an A, and then we could see a B wave bounce here, followed by a C, but it depends how prolonged this wave is right here, whether this scenario is actually playing out or a slightly different one, where this is actually the end of a upside move and we see an A, B, C correction. And this would mean that this wave right here is likely not as long in time. So it doesn't really matter which one we're looking at here. Both scenarios in the short term for me that I think are the likeliest are both calling for downside here. So look for 117,000 to be really critical resistance. However, we might overshoot this level. Provided we're not seeing a sustained break above 124,000, then I think we are going to be eventually taking out this low here, which I think has a higher probability chance of happening than a shoot right up to the upside. And yeah, I would be looking for the low to mid 90,000s to be tested in September, October. That's what I think is likely for Bitcoin here. Now let's talk about some upside targets I have. So on the grand scheme of things here, this move to the upside, this pullback is still looking corrective, so I am anticipating higher prices overall. Some more downside pressure in the short term is likely, possibly towards the mid to low 90,000s. That's the level I think we need to hold to keep a really bullish perspective still as being very probable. But provided we can hold the mid to low 90,000s, yeah, 130 to 150,000 is going to be my range to the upside, where I'd look for a substantial top in either late 2025 or early 2026. I'm talking Q1 as being the most probable. So yeah, I believe we're still in this fifth and final wave to the upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're working on this fifth still. And as long as we're holding the mid to low 90,000s, I see no reason to change this belief, because this pullback so far in the very short term that we've seen is no way indicative that a major top has actually formed. But if we break the mid to low $90,000 support level, then it starts to increase the probabilities that yes, we've actually seen a top. But let's see it happen first. The low to mid $90,000 level is a huge buy zone for me, because I think it's likelier Bitcoin holds those levels as support and rallies higher towards the end of the year and early 2026. All right, that's what I have in this video. I hope you enjoyed the information. Take care. Have a good one.